Jananjana Shalakaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Shakti Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I'm feeling very fortunate to be here in Himachal. This very auspicious assembly of devotees. And I was informed by Mayan Prabhu to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam. Nishkinchana Prabhu said I should be continuing Chaitanya Charitamrita. And this morning, Lochananan Prabhu said, it's a Sunday, so you should continue with the Lilamrita. So, I think I'll just standard, which is to continue with Lilamrita. Is that okay? Or, I mean, I'm okay, whichever.
Yeah. That's right.
Okay. Is that what we do? Gopal Swami do? Sunday? Yeah. Of this chapter from volume 1 of the Lilamrita. The title of the chapter is Swamiji's Departure. That is 26, chapter number 26. So this is Srila Prabhupada. Okay, probably in 1967. Prabhupada, having gone through a stroke, he decides to go back to India, leaving his disciples. So we'll read, how many pages do you read usually? Okay. All right, so from where the bookmark is, remain in San Francisco, hoping for a chance to visit Swamiji. From the few who knew firsthand, they heard about Swamiji's plans to leave for India, perhaps never to return. It was painful to hear. Close to death, but then returning by Krishna's grace and rejoining them in San Francisco, yet being unable to stay with them as before. Now his plans of going to India may be forever. These activities intensified their concern. So this is Srila Prabhupada having suffered a stroke, told his disciples, this is 60, he told his disciples, I might have to go back to India forever. And he as possible. They had just established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness a year ago. And they were seeking personal guidance from Prabhupada. Until now, they thought Swamiji will be available forever. But here, Swamiji is, or Srila Prabhupada, as he was later known, has decided to go back, talked, intensified their concern and their feeling of separation. So we continue reading. Devotees worried, speculating on whether they could carry on without Swamiji. One devotee suggested that perhaps one of Swamiji's godbrothers should come to America and fill in for Swamiji. And if the worst happened, take over the leadership of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. When the suggestion reached Prabhupada, he considered it without immediately replying. So, of course, because the disciples were young and they didn't have any other guide, the natural thing for them to think was, Srila Prabhupada has many godbrothers in India. Why don't we invite one of them? Later on, we see in one letter to Guru Das in 1970, I believe, Srila Prabhupada says, do not feel depressed that nothing was worthy. So Srila says, do not feel depressed. All I got was depression, repression, and compression. So depression means, when Srila Prabhupada said, he wrote to one of his godbrothers and said, please send me the khol, the drum, mridanga. He did not receive any reply. He asked them again and they replied back saying, oh, Swamiji, we checked the price of sending the khol is about 100 rupees. Khol itself is only 20 rupees. So there is no point sending it. They did not send it. Another disciple of Siddhanta Swami, he replied to Prabhupada and said, accomplish the mission by opening the temple storefront in New York. Come back. So in this way, no one really helped him. And Prabhupada also, was very clear. And we see this from his godbrothers' lives, how they dealt with Srila Prabhupada. Generally speaking, I cannot say this is the case for every individual godbrother of Srila Prabhupada, but generally speaking, they were politically minded and having many, many divisions within the Gaudiya Math. It still continues. Gaudiya Math is not one entity. There are many Gaudiya Maths. And even within the Gaudiya Maths, there are subdivisions. Everyone wants to control the properties, the Acharya, where an Acharya gets appointed. I will not name names, but there is a lot of them in France as well. And I know some of them personally. So, in fact, one of them approached me. We are so frustrated. We do not have a system like ISKCON. And we should try and come back, but we are worried if we come back, it will not be accepted. So, anyway, Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers, they were all politically scattered. They all wanted control of different properties of their guru, Siddhanta Sri Thakur. And B, they were really wanting to sabotage Prabhupada's disciples. When one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples visited Vrindavan, one of Prabhupada's godbrothers actually he's got a property right opposite Krishna Balaram Mandir. If you go to Vrindavan, you see there's a big property right opposite. It's a college, educational institution. And Bon Maharaj was also sent to the West before Prabhupada by Siddhanta Swami Thakur. Hare Krishna. So we can see that when Bon Maharaj reinitiated one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, Srila Prabhupada was not, he did not criticize Bon Maharaj, he wasn't upset. At the same time, he told his disciples, if you associate them, you will simply be. He repeated this message again and again. So, Srila Prabhupada, when he was told by his early disciples, Swamiji, if you're not going to stay with us, then please invite one of your godbrothers. Srila Prabhupada wasn't very enthusiastic about that prospect. Prabhupada said that he would initiate the new followers. Sorry, I skipped a paragraph. So when the suggestion, he considered it without immediately replying. Mukunda, and he was very grave and silent. His eyes were closed, and flowing from his eyes. And he said, my spiritual master was no ordinary spiritual master. Then he paused for some time, and wiping the tears from his cheeks, he said in an even more choked voice, he saved me. At that point, I began to understand the meaning of spiritual master and dropped all consideration of ever replacing Swamiji. Srila Prabhupada's indebtedness to his Guru, 36, the last instruction in 1936, 65. So that's almost 30 years, 29 years. And Srila Prabhupada, in one of the classes, or one of the conversations he was having, he actually did not plan that he'll go to the West, he will do something big. So what happened? How did he fulfill the words of Prabhupada? Does anyone know? Okay. There was one particular thing, Prabhupada himself says this, that he spoke on the disappearance day of Siddhanta Sri Thakur. I think it's in 1969, early days. And in that conversation, he says, he had no idea. He said, I had no plans, I had no idea how I will fulfill the mission of my spiritual master. My family life was practically finished. However, I didn't know how I will achieve this. So I decided to study the Shastras. And I decided to study the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur on the Bhagavad Gita. And in the verse, Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kurunandara, in the commentary to that verse, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, one must make the words of one's spiritual master as one's life and soul. And Srila Prabhupada says, those words of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur hit me so hard in my heart that I at once decided, now I will make the words of my spiritual master my heart and soul. So it seems that was the philosophical turning point. In his own words, Prabhupada himself says this. So, that indebtedness to his spiritual master was so much. Once Jayapataka Maharaj spoke to one of Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers. This was in the 1980s, late 80s, early 90s. And he asked for some guidance. And this godbrother of Srila Prabhupada, he said, what can we guide you? for Guru Maharaj, Prabhupada, he's given everything. He said, what none of us could achieve, he achieved. Because he was the one who had full faith in the words of our spiritual master, Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And he was the one who had full faith on the power of the holy names of Krishna. And it seems that we were all with Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, but we did not have that faith. This is from Prabhupada's Godbrother, Puri Maharaj. He was very famous. The senior Puri Maharaj lived for 102 years. I have also met his darshan. Very saintly personality. But he admitted that Srila Prabhupada's love for his spiritual master was unparalleled. So we see this. Then Prabhupada says, after 2 days, Prabhupada said he would not call any of his godbrothers to come and take care of his disciples. He said, if this person speaks, this person meaning his godbrother comes and speaks. If this person speaks just one word different from what I am speaking, there will be great confusion among you. I already mentioned this, because he doesn't say this once, he says it so many times. And at the same time, if somebody ever criticized his godbrothers who were Gaudiya Math, Prabhupada was very defensive. He said, that was between me and them. You shall not criticize. So, here he says, if that person speaks just one word different from what I am speaking, there will be a great confusion among you. Actually, he said, the idea was an insult to the spiritual master. That's really strong. Prabhupada said that he would initiate the new followers in San Francisco and asked that they come at a time and stay overnight. One at a time and stay overnight. So he was going to initiate disciples one at a time. Prabhupada was on bed rest. He could hardly sit up. Without performing any fire ceremonies, no fire ceremony, he simply talked with each person, asking him to follow the 4 rules and chant 16 rounds a day. So this was the first set of initiations. When the follower promised, Prabhupada initiated him, sitting on the bed, while the disciples sat before him on the floor. Prabhupada would chant quietly on the disciples' beads and then give him or her a spiritual name. It's a very interesting situation where Prabhupada is not even doing a fire sacrifice. There's another place where Prabhupada visited in Tehran, Iran, and he initiated there. And he did not do fire sacrifice. And his disciples asked, Srila Prabhupada, should we not do a fire sacrifice? And Srila Prabhupada's response was, does anyone know what his response was? The Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the greatest sacrifice in this age of Kali, which is true. Correct? So, he said the greatest yajna of Kali is the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So he did not do the fire sacrifice. Circumstantially in Iran, it would have been improper. Circumstantially here, as Prabhupada was unwell, so Prabhupada would chant quietly on the beads and then give it to them and give them a name. One day, one of the new candidates for initiation came in very nervously and bowed down before Prabhupada. The boy didn't get up. You can get up now, Prabhupada said. So you want to be initiated? The boy said yes and began chanting, not knowing what else to say. I will chant on your beats, Prabhupada said. And chanting for 10 minutes, he returned the beats to him, saying, your name is Aniruddha. What does that mean? The boy asked. He's the grandson of Krishna. Do you have any questions? Aniruddha couldn't think of anything. He had already forgotten his name. And Prabhupada said he could go. So, you see, early disciples. I mean, we say, Rupa Goswami, he prayed to Lord Chaitanya, Namo Maha Vadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate. Namo Maha Vadanyaya. Vadanya in Sanskrit means he who gives completely. What is given completely? If you have 100 euros in your pocket, somebody says, please, Prabhu, give me some Lakshmi. You give 10, 20 euros, 50 euros. Giving completely means giving full 100 euros. Vadanya means one who is so munificent. He retains nothing, gives fully. Rupa Goswami, now what is the highest possession that Mahaprabhu had? It was love for Krishna. Krishna Prema. That is the highest possession. And he gave that possession in full. Similarly, we see Srila Prabhupada, and there's a beautiful purport in Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada says, actually, and we can think of this, more merciful than Krishna. Krishna says, conditionally, ye yatha mam prapadyante tams tathaiva bhajamyaham. I shall reciprocate to you to the degree you approach me. So there is a reciprocal relationship with Krishna. He will give mercy, but there is reciprocal. But Mahaprabhu is more merciful. Prabhupada writes. He says Mahaprabhu is more merciful because he says, Jara dekho tare kaho Krishna updesh. Whoever you see, give them Krishna updesh. And give them Krishna's love. So Mahaprabhu is more merciful. But then, Srila Prabhupada says, but Mahaprabhu was not so kind to Jagai and Madhai. Because Jagai and Madhai, they were scoundrels. Yeah? They were not fit for society and they actually offended Nityananda Prabhu. However, Nityananda Prabhu is more merciful, Prabhupada writes, than Lord Chaitanya. Because Nityananda Prabhu embraced Jagai and Madhai. He stopped Mahaprabhu. And actually that's true even between Krishna and Balaram. Who is more merciful? Balaram. Generally speaking. Krishna says, Arjuna, I'm your friend. I will protect you somehow in the war of Kurukshetra, even if I am not fighting. Balaram says, okay, you fight on behalf of Arjuna, I will fight on behalf of Duryodhana. He is ready to give his mercy to Duryodhana. He taught Duryodhana how to fight with his mace. And that is why even when, at the end of the war, when Bhima is fighting with Duryodhana, he cannot defeat Duryodhana. It is impossible. Until Krishna tells him where to attack. Yes. But unless, Krishna would have prompted it, it was not possible because Duryodhana is a disciple of, he is the initiated disciple of Balaram. Yeah? He could not be defeated. So Balaramji gives mercy to gone cases. Hopeless. So Prabhupada writes actually that Nityananda Prabhu is more merciful than even Mahaprabhu. Because Nityananda Prabhu was merciful to Jagai Mala, and the same purport in Bhagavatam, Prabhupada writes. But nowadays, in the Western countries, there are many Jagais and Malas. And then he writes, and we, talking about himself, we, the humble servant of Lord Nityananda, have distributed his mercy to all over the Western world. So actually he very humbly accepted that he is more merciful than Lord Nityananda. So here you can see Prabhupada is giving initiation to this boy. And he bows down and he's even forgotten his name. Aniruddha. Yeah, so merciful. When Srila Prabhupada gave initiation to Mother Malati and a few others, Prabhupada had asked to make a little fire pit and also to get the fruits for the yajna and wood. So they had gathered everything, ghee, and Prabhupada had just lit the fire. And then he was chanting the mantras and he asked them to repeat. They could not repeat. So Prabhupada said, okay, no problem. Prabhupada repeated the mantras. They were just sitting in silence. And then Prabhupada said, fruits. So Prabhupada asked for the fruits to be put inside. But because these Americans, they couldn't understand what Prabhupada was saying, they thought Prabhupada was saying blow. So they all together started blowing at the fire. I heard this from Mother Malati's mouth herself. She said, you were blowing at the fire. Prabhupada was saying, no, stop. Nothing, no concept. And yet, Prabhupada accepted. So, another time Prabhupada said on his appearance day, he said, actually, you have all been sent by my spiritual master. And he said, you are all actually my gurus. This was how humble Sri Prabhupada was. Never to claim himself as the doer. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, those who are mudras, what do they think? Karta aham iti manyate. He thinks I am the doer. Right? Prabhupada gives initiation even to the most unworthy. So then, later, Prabhupada called this boy. Later, Prabhupada called for Aniruddha. But Aniruddha didn't know that it was his name being called. Of course, he didn't remember his name. Aniruddha! Kirtananda said and looked at him. Aniruddha, he looked at him. Swamiji is calling you. Another boy who came out received the name Uddhava. The next day, as Prabhupada was sitting in the yard, he called Kirtananda, Upendra, Uddhava. So he was calling Kirtananda, Upendra, Uddhava. Prabhupada was calling. He wanted to read them a verse he had encountered while studying Srimad Bhagavatam. So he wanted to share a verse from Bhagavatam. Kirtananda and Upendra came and sat at Srila Prabhupada's feet. Oh, where is Uddhava? Prabhupada asked. Upendra told him that Uddhava had gone up to the hills to look at the cows and to chant to them. Upendra thought that Swamiji would be pleased to hear that his new disciple had climbed up the hill just to chant to the cows. But Srila Prabhupada shook his head unhappily. Restlessness. He had wanted the new boy to hear the verse. So this is, Srila Prabhupada said this many times, especially to all those who lived in the West, whether they are in a Western body, Indian body, whatever, Western disease. Srila Prabhupada said, this is your disease. Does anyone know what that is?
Trying to change things
Yes.
all the time.
Yes, Srila Prabhupada said, your disease is you cannot be steady. You want change, change again and again. And Srila Prabhupada spoke in quite strong words. He said, you are hearing one philosophy, you want another philosophy. You married one wife, now you want another wife. You married one husband, now you want another husband. This is your disease. Newer and newer, Prabhupada said, newer and newer. This is your disease. Restlessness. This is your Western disease. This is for everyone who is living in the West. Doesn't matter whether you are a Western bodied person or not. Indians, Chinese, Filipinos, doesn't matter. Anyone who's in the West. Now, as of today, it doesn't matter even in India. I would say they are more restless. Indians are more hopeless than anyone else in the world. Because they have given up their real wealth. The real wealth of spiritual life, they have given up. So they are more hopeless. So there is a bigger need to push forward this movement. And earlier we heard that Srila Prabhupada was wondering how the disciples will do, pushing forward his movement. This was constantly on Prabhupada's mind. Even when he visited here in New Mayapur, in New Vrindavan, wherever he went, he would constantly ask his disciples, how would you continue this movement, growing this movement? Actually, if you listen to Prabhupada every day, every other, say if you're listening 1 hour every day, every other day or every 2 days, you will hear Prabhupada use these words, push on. We want to push on this movement. Prabhupada wanted to not be relaxed and become Bhajanandi, but to push on, continue propagating this movement. And so, even the last week of his earthly pastime, in November 1977, Srila Prabhupada on the bed, lying, he asked Tamal Krishna Maharaj, do you think this movement will continue after I'm gone? This is just the day before he left this world, day before, a couple of days before. Do you think this movement will continue? What do you think? Tamal Krishna Maharaj said.
Push on.
Huh?
We will push on.
Sorry?
We will push on.
We will push on. Yeah, he said yes, the movement will continue. And this is classic Prabhupada style. If somebody would give him an answer, he would say, how? So he said, how? And then there were different disciples in the room. Some disciples said, Prabhupada, if we follow the scriptures thoroughly, the movement will continue. Others said, if we have enough finances, enough Lakshmi, then big temples like this one will be sorted, everything will be nice. Another disciple said, if we do book distribution and Sankirtan, then the movement will flourish. If we preach, the movement will flourish. Srila Prabhupada seemed unfazed. As if, no, he was not acknowledging, not dismissing. So he did not dismiss, but he did not acknowledge very. And then, do you know what Prabhupada actually said? How this movement will continue? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cooperation? Yes, somebody said cooperation. Prabhupada was unfazed.
If you follow my order,
You follow my order? Yeah. Yes.
Organization and intelligence.
through organization and intelligence. And this is not a mundane answer. It's important to have an organization which has a united effort to push things forward. Like, while I was coming here, I saw some cows and sheep or goats. And the herdsmen, they are herding the sheep. It's an organized, focused approach. And the other thing Srila Prabhupada said is intelligence. He said you have to use your intelligence. If you don't use your intelligence, then you will not be able to push on this movement forward. So, it is a duty upon all of us as the descendants in Srila Prabhupada's parampara to push on this movement through organization and intelligence. Then Srila Prabhupada, when he had these two disciples, Upendra and Kirtanananda, sitting there, he recites a verse. Prabhupada says, excuse me, he says, Jayati Jayati Devo, Devaki Nandano Sau, Jayati Jayati Krishna, Vrishni Vamsha Pradeepa, Jayati Jayati Megha, Shyamala Komalango, Jayati Jayati Prithvi, Bharanasho Mukunda. Okay. So earlier we read, he said, Satsur Maharaj is saying, Srila Prabhupada wanted to read them a verse he had encountered while studying Srimad Bhagavatam. This is not a verse from Bhagavatam. Where is this from? Oh yes. This is from Mukunda Mala Stotra. And the verse is not Jayati Jayati, it's Jayatu Jayatu. So there's a printing mistake maybe. But when Satyarup Maharaj wrote this work, this Lilamrita, there was no database or there was no such technology. So he must have written from memory. But probably Prabhupada must be reading Mukunda Mala Stotra. Actually, in 1950s, Prabhupada started translating Mukunda Mala Stotra. He translated the first 6 verses, and then he got into translating Srimad Bhagavatam. But he wanted to translate the entire Mukunda Mala Stotra. It was never finished. First 6 verses were translated. This is verse number 2 of Mukunda Mala Stotra. It actually reads Jayatu. Here it says Jayati. Anyway, Jayatu Jayatu Devo, Devaki Nandano Sau. Let me read what further there is. Prabhupada gave the translation. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as the son of Devaki. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the light of the Vrishni dynasty. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose bodily luster is like that of a new cloud, and whose body is as soft as lotus flowers. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who walks on the planet Earth to deliver the world from the scorn of demons, and who can offer liberation to everyone. After repeating the Sanskrit and the translation, he told them they could return to their duties. And this is where this particular pastime finishes. So I'll just put the bookmark there. And yeah. What time do we finish?
9.
9 o'clock? Okay. So this particular verse, maybe I'll speak a little bit on this verse. 10-12 minutes. Jayati Jayati or Jayatu Jayatu Devo Devaki Nandano Sau. All glories to this son of Devaki. But Krishna is not son of Devaki, is he? Or is he not?
He is Devaki.
He is Devaki's son. Yeah? How Devaki gave birth to Krishna? Devaki did not give birth to Krishna. The four-handed form of Vishnu or Narayan appeared in front of Devaki. Both Devaki and Vasudeva surrendered to him, and he then appeared. Why they surrendered? So the Acharyas say, because they were worried that if suddenly Kamsa comes and sees that Narayan is here, he'll start fighting with Narayan. And now that they think of this 400 Narayan as their son, they were worried as parents. So they said, no, please, assume a form of a little baby. So immediately Narayan assumed that form of little two-handed form of Krishna. Now Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Jiva Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his Sarartha Darshini and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his, Jiva Goswami in his Krama Sandarbha, they both say that Mother Yashoda in Braj, which place in Braj? In Gokula, which is also known as Brihadva. Over there, she had given birth to twins, identical twins. Do you know that? No? Who were the identical twins? One was a girl, one was a boy. The boy was Krishna, but he was hidden under the blanket, and that blanket was Yogamaya. So the only child that could be seen was a little girl. The Mother Yashoda did not realize whether it was a girl or a boy. You see, after delivery, it's a very exhausting process. She was in her sleep. And Nanda Maharaj knew that a girl has been born. Jiva Goswami says in Krama Sandarbha that when Vasudeva brought the baby Krishna, who was the 400 Narayan, from Mathura, the jail in Mathura, to Gokul, to exchange for the daughter. He took the daughter and he brought that daughter to Mathura. And of course, Kamsa, he started laughing, thinking, just see, Vishnu is so scared of me. Instead of him appearing as a boy, he appeared as a female. And he took that female and he tried to bash her on the wall like he would with every child. But instead she flew and she became Ashtabhuja, 8-armed Durga. And she said, you fool, the person who is meant to kill you is already appeared. And he was, Prabhu actually writes, he was a worshipper of Durga Devi. Who? Kamsa. So he thought, my goddess, my mother, she has appeared and she has told me, I am a fool, I accept I am a fool. And she has told me the boy has already appeared. So she is almost prompting me, fool, go and feed him. He took it this way, just see. You know, when somebody has not got the right consciousness, you give him good instruction, they will receive it in their own way. So here, Kamsa thought, oh, she is telling me, I have to go and look for this boy somewhere. That's why he sends all these demons everywhere. But then what happens? Vasudeva, when he put Krishna, which Krishna? Mathura Krishna, next to Mother Yashoda. Before Mother Yashoda woke up, this Mathura Krishna is nothing but an expansion of Golok Krishna or Gokul Krishna. That's why they both merged and became one. Now this merging is not like two individuals merging into one. That is not correct. Yesterday Prabhu was explaining the Prakasha form. Incarnations of the Lord are divided into 12 categories. I don't want to go into technique. I want to keep it to the Leela level. But Prakasha, in Prakasha, you find, what is Prakasha form? It is equal manifestation, non-different manifestation. So Krishna as Krishna is Prakasha. Krishna with all the gopis is his Prakasha form. Krishna with all the queens of Dwarka is his Prakasha form. Actually, very sweetly if we think, the deities of the Lord are the Prakasha form of Krishna. Because they have the same potency. The holy name of the Lord is the Prakasha form of Krishna. So here, these two are Prakasha forms, the Mathura Krishna and the Gokul Krishna, and they become one. And when Akrura comes to take Krishna away, at which age?
11 years.
11 years is a rough estimate, yes. So again, we see Sanatana Goswami in his Vaishnava Toshini, he says that Krishna was in Gokul, Bruhadvan, up to the age of 3 years and 4 months. That is Balya Leela. Balya means baby. He's crawling, he's catching hold of the tail of the calf, and the calf is dragging him everywhere. And actually Ram is doing that first, Balram. He catches the hold of the calf, and the calf is jumpy. The calf jumps and the calf runs through the gobar, through the cow dung. And because Ram is being dragged through the gobar, so then in Braj Bhasha, he is also known as Gasitara. So there is one very famous shop in India, Gasitara. They sell sweets. So this is the original name, because Ram was dragged, and then Krishna thought, oh, this is so entertaining. He also crawled and he pulled the tail of another calf. That calf again. So this is the Balya Leela, means child up to 3 years and 4 months. By then, lot of demons were making a lot of commotion. So Upananda, brother of Nanda Maharaj, he said, you know, I've heard on the other side, so if you look at Yamuna, on the eastern side of Yamuna is Gokul. So they said on the other side of Yamuna, there is a forest which is completely untouched. And this forest is really mesmerizing. It has all the things that our cows need to sustain. So this forest is, what is this forest? Where did he move?
Nandavan.
No. At 3 years and 4 months, they moved to Vrindavan. Same Vrindavan. Then they stayed another 3 years and 4 months. So till Krishna was 6 years and 8 months, they stayed in Vrindavan. Then still there was so much demons, commotion. Kaliya was there. Keshi. So Nand Maharaj said, now this place is also not safe anymore for our Krishna. So let us go somewhere out. We don't know where to go. So then there was a conference of the Gopas. In the conference it was decided that Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma and Lord Vishnu have appeared in our land of Braj. Lord Vishnu has appeared as Govardhan. But it is not right, we are Vaishnavas, it is not right for us to put our feet on the head of Vishnu. But Brahma and Shiva are servants of Vishnu just like us. So we should go to their hills, they have appeared as hills. And on these hills, no demon can come. So we will go and stay on the hill called Nandishwar Parvat. And our good friend Vrishabhanu Maharaj will go and stay on the hill which is known as Brahmagiri. Brahmagiri became Barsana. Actually the old name mentioned in Shastra is Bruhatsanu. which means Barsanu or Barsana. And Nandagiri, where Maharaj Nanda lived, was known as Nandagam. So, in that way, they moved to Nandagam. And in Nandagam, Krishna stayed till he was 10 years and 7 months. On the Chaitra month Ekadashi day, Krishna left. When he was 10 years, 7 months, Chaitra Ekadashi, he left with Akrura from Nandagaon to go to Mathura. And when he reached the outer boundaries of Braj, Krishna of Gokul, Braj Krishna, stayed there. Because you see, I told you there are two Krishnas. He stayed there forever. And the other Krishna, the Mathura Krishna, he left and he went. All this is given by the Acharyas. So here it says, Jayati Jayati Devo Devaki Nandano Sau. He is known as Devaki Nandana. So then why is he known as Devaki Nandana? So in Garga Samhita and also in Brahma Puran, it is mentioned that another name of another name of Yashoda in her house is Devaki. Another name of Mother Yashoda is Devaki. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, wherever you read Devaki, it only means Yashoda. So here first line, Jayatu Jayatu Devo, Devaki Nandano Sau. Next line, Jayatu Jayatu Krishna, Vrishni Vamsha Pradeepa. Pradeepa means a lamp. Lamp which shines bright. Vrishni Vamsha, he is a lamp that shines bright. He is a lamp who appeared in the Vrishni dynasty. See, in ancient times, especially if you belong to a lineage which was very, very prominent, then they would keep the records of the lineage. If you're born in a prominent lineage, either in a royal lineage, like even the royals in France, well, there are no more royals in France, but the English royals, for example, they have their lineage going all the way up. Or if you are a great saint or a Vaishnava, you would have lineages. And here, his lineage, Krishna's lineage is connected to the Vrishnis. Does anyone know how he is connected to the Vrishnis? So, there was a king, a Vrishni king, by the name of Devamidha. Devamidha had two wives. One was from a Vaishya background, Vaishya meaning from the, how do you say?
Merchant.
From the mercantile class. And the other one was from a Kshatriya background, which is the warrior class. So from the warrior class, Kshatriya wife, Devamidha gave birth to, then beget, a son by the name of Sura, who became Surasena, who became the king of Mathura. And from the Vaishya wife, he begat a child whose name was Parjanya. And Parjanya became a coward. Because Vaishyas are into business, coward, cow husbandry, etc. So he became a coward and the other became a king. So they are both connected all the way to Vrishni. In Vrishni's dynasty is Devamidha. Devamidha's two wives, Vaishya and Kshatriya. The Vaishya wife gave birth to Parjanya and Kshatriya wife gave birth to Surasena. Surasena's son is Vasudeva. And Parjanya had 5 sons.
Nanda Maharaj.
And one of them was Nanda Maharaj. And Nanda Maharaj's son is Krishna. So Nanda Nandana, Krishna. Yeah? Yashoda Nandana. So we see that in that sense, Krishna is belonging to the Vrishni dynasty. Anyway, there are two other lines, but there is no time for that. I did not decide to speak anything in particular. So, thank you very much for the class. Any comments, corrections? Please, you're welcome. Gopaswami Prabhu, would you like to add anything or make any corrections?
Can stay one more week.
Thank you for your long reflection. Yes, Prabhu. Any
Prabhu,
questions anyone has? Please ask. Yeah.
Prabhu, at the beginning, when you're talking about the history of Prabhupada, the God Brothers, Gaudiya Math, all that kind of stuff. Now, when you look at ISKCON, I don't know if so much in India, but in the West at least, there is some of encouragement or a push to start to unify, like in America, maybe in Europe, I don't know, and to build bonds with Gaudiya Math, ISKCON, Gaudiya Math, and things like that. What's your perspective on it? Like, do you feel it's too soon? And there's a saying, good fences make good neighbors. Or do you think that we should start to amalgamate, considering the history is still pretty recent?
Yeah, I think it's a question for the managerial authority of ISKCON to answer. Which is the GBC. Actually, they have thought about this many times during the history of ISKCON. And again, it's gone in not such a nice direction. Whenever ISKCON's tried. At least that's the past history. I've only been in the movement for 30 years, so I can only tell 30 years worth of history. But I've seen in those 30 years enough to tell you that generally it's a one-sided relationship. I'm not going to call out which side where, but it's a difficult relationship. And there's an aura of superiority in one side. Unnecessarily, that aura does not help. So, not for me to answer whether it's too soon, whether we should do it, we shouldn't do it. It's for the managerial authority that's going to answer this question. Do you want me to be political? Just like Srila Prabhupada when he was in Iraq, and the devotee asked Prabhupada, isn't it better to chant the names of Krishna rather than chanting the name of Allah? Srila Prabhupada replied, do you want me to be sectarian? Sometimes no answer is the best answer. Okay, any other? Yes.
What was Srila Prabhupada's relationship with Narayan Maharaj, please?
Srila Prabhupada's relationship with Narayan Maharaj, there was Prabhupada's godbrother by the name of Bhakti Prajna Keshav Maharaj. And Keshav Maharaj's disciple was Narayan Maharaj. Narayan Maharaj that you are referring to was a disciple of Bhakti Prajna Keshav Maharaj. And Srila Prabhupada took his sannyas initiation from Narayan Maharaj's guru. He accepted sannyas initiation, not Diksha initiation, sannyas initiation. Sannyas initiation can be accepted from any sannyasi, not necessarily Gaudiya or sannyasi. I mean, Mahaprabhu took initiation from Mayavadi. So the requirement is that other person has to be a sannyasi, that's all. But in Prabhupada's case, he loved and he was very affectionate to Prabhupada in Mathura. He stayed there also and he gave him sannyas. That is the relationship. Of course, we may hear many other things. There is nothing that is strongly evident that suggests that we should be thinking in different directions, giving up Prabhupada's shelter. There is nothing anywhere that has come across in my reading or hearing of Prabhupada that suggests anything of that sort. Actually, Prabhupada, what he did, nobody else did. And everyone who claims to be doing anything, they are doing it on the back of Sri Prabhupada. Before Prabhupada, not one Frenchman became a devotee. Not one Englishman became a devotee. Well, arguably, Mohan Maharaj did initiate one lady in Wilson Green, and she donated her house. But she was an old pensioner, and she, so yeah, you could say that. And you could say that Bhaktivinoda Thakur also had some influence, but there wasn't a mass movement like how Prabhupada converted or uplifted, I would say. I don't like the word converted, but uplifted so many people from so many walks of life. Nobody else. Who has produced pure devotees? You see, there's a saying in one of the works, I believe it's in the Padma Purana or Brahmanda Purana, I cannot be sure. But it says that generally devotees are compared to Chintamani. You know what Chintamani is?
Touchstone.
A touchstone, right? But this particular verse says, actually no, devotees are not touchstones. A pure devotee is not a touchstone. Why? Because a touchstone, whatever it touches, becomes gold. But a touchstone cannot produce another touchstone. Can it? No. So this verse says, devotees are greater, pure devotee is greater than a touchstone. Because it can produce many, many touchstones. Touchstone is not able to do that. It can only make everything gold at the most. But a pure devotee can produce pure devotees. This is Prabhupada. He can produce pure devotees. And the reality is, people from all four Vaishnava Sampradayas, with all their lineage and all their histories, they are ultimately taking shelter of Prabhupada's movement even in India. In the Western world, people are recognizing the contribution of Srila Prabhupada in the West. So, yeah. Hopefully that answers your question in terms of the relationship. I don't know if you want to add anything in terms of the relationship. I think it's just as simple as that. Narayana Maharaj's Diksha Guru was the sannyas Guru of Srila Prabhupada. That's it. One does not need to think any further. Yes, there was another hand raised. Yes. This will be the last question. Yeah.
Thank you for the class. You answered some of it in that answer, but it was just right now you're teaching us or sharing with us the 26 qualities of a devotee, and you can see, you said that there's a lot of politics with Prabhupada's godfathers and within the Gaudiya Vaishnava, and this happens in Hinduism or every faith has in a politics.
Yeah.
On my journey through Krishna consciousness, as I'm chanting, reading, etc., associating, my heart's only opening up more. So these enlightened souls who were his godfathers, for example, or other areas, what was the gap between, what in your opinion, between they know the scriptures, they're chanting, they're following the principles, but then still there's, you use the word sabotaging, or there's politics, they want to have some control, but through the process, you're going through a process of purification from the inside out. So, what in your opinion is the gap between them, through the Prabhupada, and what the, like you said,
I do not have an opinion. Because Srila Prabhupada himself said it's between me and them. And that finishes all scope of any opinion. And to be completely honest, can I ask your father's name, please? Rajan. Your father's name. My father's name is also Rajan, by the way. Yeah, so your father's name is Rajan. Can you, no matter how hard you try, can you make somebody called Ashok your father? Or somebody called Sam, or Peter, or Robert your father? Can you? No. The fact that he has given you birth, you are eternally connected to him. The fact that we have attained the mercy of Mahaprabhu through the auspices of Srila Prabhupada, he has become our eternally connected spiritual grandfather. In many of our cases, even great-grandfather. Like Mishkinshana Prabhu's guru is a disciple of Srila Prabhupada's disciple. So, Prabhupada is his great-grandfather. And that lineage, you cannot change that lineage. Can you, no matter how hard you try, make somebody else your father other than Rajan? Not possible. Similarly, it's not possible. It's a useless topic. There are many topics to think about and to drown our consciousness in, than to consider why, what is the opinion. So the best suggestion is to continue becoming stronger in our Krishna consciousness. And on another level, there were difference of opinion everywhere. Even during Krishna's time, amongst pure devotees. And I do want to say this before we finish, because otherwise the answer seems half-hearted. In first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna, he tells Arjuna, this Ashwatthama, he's killed your sons in their sleep. Please chase him and bring him to your wife, your good wife. And Arjuna, feeling the anger, the instigation from Krishna, he says, yes, I'm going to go and find him, fetch him, and Draupadi, like a real Kshatriya lady, you take bath by standing on his head. Then you will feel pacified. Draupadi is also happy with that proposal. So Arjuna goes, he fetches Ashwatthama and then starts amongst the 5 pure devotees. Tell me who is not a pure devotee. I'll give you 5 names. You will tell me who is not a pure devotee. Yeah? Arjuna, Yudhishthir, Nakul, Sahadev, and Bhima. Who is not a pure devotee amongst them? No, you have to tell me who is not. Yeah. It's not possible, right? Yeah. It's a similar question you're asking me. Why is there politics? Why is there... Now, why did I give this example? Because when Ashwatthama comes in front of these 5, here is what happens. What happens? Does anyone know what happens? Huh? They forgive him? No, they don't forgive him.
Bhima says we have to kill him.
Bhima says, come on, he's here, why are you wasting your time?
Kill him.
Chop his head off now. I want to see the blood gushing out. Chop it now, come on. You've got him now, chop it. Come on, do it. And what does Krishna say? Bhima is right. I think you should do it. Krishna is saying Bhima is right. What does Yudhishthira say? He says, well, according to the Dharma Shastra, he's a Dharmaraj. According to Dharma Shastra, a Brahmana or a descendant of a Brahmana should never be killed. Moreover, he is the son of our Guru, so he should not be killed. And then they say, well, actually, let us ask the lady because of whom we've got this guy here. Who's the lady? Draupadi. So they ask Draupadi. Draupadi says, 5 reasons, I'll give you one. She gives 5 reasons, which one of the reasons is, I don't want Kripi. Kripi is wife of Kripacharya. Sorry.
Dronacharya.
Sister of Kripacharya, wife of Dronacharya. She says, I don't want her to lament the death of her son, like I am lamenting death of my sons. So please, don't kill him. What does Krishna say? He says, Yudhishthira is right. But Arjuna, you must also satisfy your promise to your wife, which is that you will chop his head off. Come on, Krishna is playing in all sides, all parties. So they say, well, there are two quiet people here, Nakula and Sahadev. What do they want? So Nakula and Sahadev said, well, we are neutral, but we will go with whatever the elders say. Bhima says, enough discussion. Finish him off. I want to see the blood gushing out. So now tell me, who amongst them is not a pure devotee? Anyone? They are pure devotees. And yet, they have their individual approaches, their individual opinions. And this is the beauty of Krishna consciousness. We are not all one. We are not all potatoes. Or aubergines. Or, it's not like everything's one. It's not true. Shankaracharya, he went with his disciples going to Badrikashram. He stopped at one place because he was very thirsty. And 12 of his primary disciples, sannyasis, they were with him. And they were chanting, we are one, we are one. Aham Brahmasmi. Aham Brahman, we are all Brahman. Sarvam Khalvaidam Brahma, which is also Vedavakya, Upanishads. Everything is Brahman, they were chanting. He wanted to drive a point, Shankaracharya. So he said, we are very thirsty. So he went and there was a blacksmith. You know what a blacksmith is? They make these metal works, yeah? So the blacksmith is considered to be of a lower caste because they eat all kinds of things. They are laborers, they are Shudras. And Shankaracharya is a sannyasi. He is also a Brahmana, the others Brahmanas. So they don't drink in the house of the blacksmith. So they approached the blacksmith. They could have asked for water, but instead they asked, is there somewhere where we can find a natural body of water because we are very thirsty? The blacksmith said, well, it's a very long distance away, maybe 5 miles from here. So Shankaracharya said, never mind. You are using this molten iron. Yeah? You can just give me that. And then he said, so not only Shankaracharya was thirsty, all his disciples were thirsty. So Shankaracharya said, he took the molten iron and he drank it, liquid iron. And while drinking he said, Sarvam Khalvaidam Brahma. We are all one, we are all Brahman. The molten iron and I, we are Brahman. And then he looked around to his disciples and said, now your turn. They all ran away. They said, no. Just by quenching your thirst, our thirst is quenched. So this way he drove points many times. Yeah. Anyway, point is, there can be difference of opinion. Don't waste time with that. Now you can write a whole book on who was right in that case of Ashwatthama. We will stop here. Thank you very much. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Prabhupada Lilamrita ki jai. New Mayapur Dham ki jai. Somewhere ki jai.
His Grace Kartika Chandra Prabhu ki
Jai.
jai. Wasn't that an amazing class?
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Prabhu. So now we'll have the breakfast and also we'll have some bullock carts as well in the front. So if any